Roger, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. So we look at this 15.6% increase that came into effect on the 1st of April. That's just a percentage. If you can work this out for us, how much more will the average household have to pay per month?
Good afternoon to you and your listeners. Thank you for inviting me to your show. Look, it depends very much on where the person lives and whether they buy their electricity directly from Eskom or whether they buy electricity from their local municipality. It also depends on how much electricity they use every month. Now, let me explain what I'm saying. Firstly, Eskom sells electricity in bulk to the municipalities at a particular price, and the municipalities have a fair amount of freedom in terms of how much they add on to that when they sell it to the users. Eskom, when they sell it directly to users, however, have a much more strict pricing structure, which is on their website. It's available to everyone to see, and it's broken into two sections. They have what they call Home Light 20 amp and Home Light 60 amp. And this refers to the kind of load that your particular home or business puts on the Eskom network. If we use the smaller of the two, the Home Light 20 amp, then if you're only using 350 kilowatt hours per month or less, then you would have been paying 139 cents per kilowatt hour, so R1.39 per kilowatt hour when you bought it. And with the increase, it's going to go up to R1.60, so that's quite a steep increase, 20 cents per kilowatt hour. If, however, you use more than 350 kilowatt hours, then it started at 158 cents per kilowatt hour, or R1.58, and is going to now jump up to R1.82. If, however, you have a larger house or a small business, you'll be paying Home Light 60 amp. And for that, for up to 600 kilowatt hours, you would be paying R1.58, jumping up now to R1.82. Or if you were using more than 600 kilowatt hours, especially if you were a business, then you would have been paying R2.69 per kilowatt hour, jumping up to R3.09 per kilowatt hour.
It sounds like small percentages or small amounts, but it all adds up at the end of the month, doesn't it? So let's talk then about how necessary it was for Eskom to get this 15.6% increase to actually sustain the business.
Right. So the issue is this. Eskom's tariffs are highly regulated by the National Energy Regulator of South Africa, which everyone knows as NERSA. And what NERSA does is NERSA says to Eskom, we need a projection from you as to what it's going to cost you to make electricity and sell it to the public in the forthcoming year. And Eskom go away and they do their sums and they come up with a particular figure, and they have to give that figure plus all the workings out to NERSA for NERSA to approve or disapprove. Sometimes NERSA approves and sometimes NERSA disapproves and allows a smaller increase. And we've had that over a number of years where NERSA has made those adjustments. Here, in this particular case, Eskom went to the High Court to claim that NERSA had in fact miscalculated and had deprived Eskom of this 10 billion rand, which should have been recovered from last year's electricity tariffs. And the High Court has agreed, and so that is now being passed on to us as users.
It doesn't stop there, though, right? Because we know Eskom needs more tariff increases in the next couple of financial years to actually recover totally.
Right, and therein is the problem. Because part of Eskom's cost structure is the repayment of an enormous loan. The utility owes bankers, both locally and internationally, an amount of 460 billion rand. And they have to pay something off that every month. And they have admitted that the revenue they get from selling electricity alone is not enough to cover the costs and still meet their commitments to those loans. So, in effect, the loan is getting bigger because they're not able to meet it. Hence, they get handouts from the government or bailouts from the government to try and meet those, cover those expenses. And that is going to continue. So the government cannot simply write off that loan or pay the loan on Eskom's behalf. Eskom has to generate income to cover those costs. Now, part of the problem is that NERSA has said in the past that part of Eskom's costs are unnecessary costs, or costs which Eskom could have avoided had they been more careful about the way they spend money. And we know that there's been lots of talk about coal prices that were inflated and things like that. And we've read stories about how Eskom employees have basically paid more for things than they should have paid because it was coming from some family member or friend or whatever the case may be. And that Eskom has found itself now in this very dire financial situation. And the truth is that without government bailout, Eskom would go bankrupt.
Yeah, and because of all of that, we are actually really paying the price. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it. Energy sector analyst Roger Lilly.